Alright, good morning. It is Sunday. I have a few minutes here to do a video this morning, so I decided to do a quick live Q&A part 4 this morning. I hope everyone can see me. Let's see here. Okay. So this morning we're going to go over 4 or 5 questions, and if we get anyone online that wants to ask any questions, we can go ahead and we can actually take those up. Just to give you a quick update on things, I'm trying the video from a new spot in the apartment this morning, so readjusting lights and positions, and I feel a little crooked this morning, so I don't have my computer up on a box that might not be very stable, so it might be a little kiltered. So you might see me do this because I don't feel like I'm actually live yet. Let's see. Pretty sure we are live, although everything's saying I'm not. I don't know if this is working yet, so it doesn't seem to be. I don't really actually know if I'm live or not. I'm streaming. I just don't know if we are connected. So you know what? I'm going to stop, and I'm going to be back in... No, you know what? I think we're just going to continue. You know what, I'm going to, if I'm live, I apologize. I don't seem to see anyone on here. I don't seem to see anything working. So I'm going to view on watch page, and there seems to be nothing happening right now. So I'm going to actually stop filming right now because I don't see that we're working. I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on. YouTube likes to change things rapidly. So give me a few minutes, I'll come right back. Okay, so came back. Okay, we are live. I apologize about that. Things have been a little funky with my computer and learning exactly how YouTube is working because I keep doing things a little bit differently each time, which I should probably stop doing. All right. Yes, we are. We are definitely getting we are getting people saying that it is live, so I'm going to go right ahead. Let me just get my questions moved over to right spot. Okay, and I'm going to get you guys moved up here. Okay, and sorry guys, I'm a little disorganized this morning. All right. So like I said, I'm doing it in a new spot in the house, and I didn't realize that my mouse would not work on the surface that I am on right now. So again, just a couple of little things that are not going well as normal. Okay, good. So again, we're going to be doing a Q&A. We're going to be doing a live chat. I have about 4 or 5 questions, which should go pretty quickly, and then we'll answer any questions that you guys have that are online now. It looks like we have 4 people right now. So again, I apologize for the confusion with whether this was working or not, but we got things going. I'm actually going to be switching over and using my phone soon. I just bought this stand for it that we'll be able to actually do some videos off of that, so we don't have to go through the computer. It's a little bit different when you do YouTube through the computer because I have to use a program that I don't get a very good quality video from it. Although I'm using a Macintosh, the program I have to go through doesn't give good quality. So we're going to switch it around so we have a little bit better quality. I'm also using a different background, a different area in my apartment as well, in order to get a better light situation. So we will go ahead and continue. We got 5 people watching. All right, so the first question actually has to do with a video I did a few weeks ago. I think it was my last Q&A that I did, where I had actually talked about, someone had asked me during the Q&A, where do they get more information about Scientology? And they were looking for kind of the pluses and the minuses. So I actually had said, go on their website and look. Buy a book, read a book. Look at, watch Scientology and the Aftermath with Leah Remini. Join the Facebook groups that are against Scientology. Look at all the different aspects of it. So this question that was actually question/critique, I'm going to say, that it was asked by Krista was, wait, you're advising people to read books and go on their website and then go look at these books. WTF? What the fuck? Well, yeah. To address that, yes, I did, because I think it's actually very fair to look at all sides of things instead of just looking at one side. A lot of Scientologists that are no longer active, or you want to call them ex-scientologists, do still state that they got a lot out of Scientology. There was a reason why I got involved in Scientology, and there were some things that were taken care of in my life that have made me a better person because of Scientology. The reason, there's a lot of reasons why I got out. I've made several videos about that. But I got out because of the extremes that the church was going to with regards to running the church, with regards to the constant needing of making money, the constant pushing of your statistics and moving up in the IAS and the ideal buildings, and it got away from trying to help people. And obviously, since I've been out of Scientology, I've learned more about what the OT levels are about and what a crock they are. And in fact, actually, a lot of the videos and things that I've read about people being out of Scientology said that they all got a lot out of their lower bridge. It's when they got onto their OT levels that things got a little fucked up. So yes, so if you're gonna look into something, and I do this with my politics, I listen to PBS. I listen to it's drawing a blank. The PBS stations. Wow, I completely just drew a blank. I listen to the left. I listen to the right. I listen to the middle. I listen to the extreme right. I listen to the extreme left when it comes to my politics. And I come up with a decision on my own based on that information. Just about anything I look at economics. I look at social situations. I look at the gay and lesbian community, the Black Lives Matters. I look at the white supremacists. I look at all of it to make some sort of decision in my life. So of course I'm going to advise somebody to read books about Scientology, read books against Scientology, read books for Scientology, read books about that were written by L. Ron Hubbard. Hell, read Mission Earth. It was an amazing technology, a 10-book series that he wrote back in the 80s, right after he wrote Battlefield Earth. Even Battlefield Earth was a great book, horrible movie though. Okay, so yeah, of course I'm going to advise someone to look at both ends of any spectrum there is out there in this world. Again, I say that I look at it, doesn't necessarily mean that I believe everything as well. But you have to look at both sides of everything in order to be able to make a sound decision in life. So yes, I'm going to advise people to look at both sides. All right, this is the next question we have is Rayleigh Fessman. Why don't any ex-Scientologists address the death, i.e. of McPherson, in 1995? This is in reference to Lisa McPherson. In 1995, the reason I don't address this is because I don't really know much about it. What I do know is that Lisa McPherson was a Scientologist. She was staying down at Flag. I was actually at Flag when this happened, And I remember the drills that we were doing in order to, I don't want to say cover up, but basically a lot of weird things happened when I was there. We were being told to walk very quickly between the buildings. Our bus schedule got changed. We were not staying late anymore. This is for about a week or two. In fact, actually, we couldn't go over to one of the buildings because they never said why. They just said they were doing drills on the base. But from what I remember and what I've read about what happened with Lisa McPherson is she had actually gotten very sick and had a psychotic break while staying at the Church of Scientology. She ended up dying. What I understand is she had a staph infection and was not was then taken to the hospital and pronounced dead, I believe. I really don't know a lot about what happened with her. So, you know, what were you saying? Why don't ex-Scientologists address this? I'm going to probably say there's two reasons. A, it was in 1995. So a lot of the people that are out of Scientology now, this is kind of out of our purview of what was going on. Not to belittle or put down what happened. I know that there was a lot of media coverage. There's been a lot of different things that have been written about this. I know Mark Buckner is probably one of the most active people when it comes to the situation that happened with Lisa McPherson. I believe Tony Ortega has obviously taken up some, or written some articles about this on his blog. But other than that, I really don't know a lot about it in order to know what to say to anyone about it. And I really can't speak for anyone else other than to say I believe it's just because it did happen. It's been almost, wow, it's been 20 years since that happened. Wow. Eek. And I don't want to belittle it saying that, again, because it happened so long ago that it's not important. I know a lot of things changed in Scientology after that happened. And this was, it was a very unfortunate situation. And I really wish I could address it more. And I'm actually going to do it probably more harm by saying anything more about it. Other than it was a very typical way that Scientology handles things. With trying to kind of sweep things under the rug. I mean, they did the same thing with my brother-in-law, and with the death of my ex-mother-in-law, or mother-in-law at the time. They tried to cover up my brother as much as possible and just make it like he'd never had any involvement with Scientology, which was a complete farce. So this is kind of just a typical thing that Scientology did with regards to covering their own asses, I guess, and it's really sad that they did that. It sucks. I really wish I could say more to it. I was at Flag when it happened, though. We never heard about it until much later. I actually never really heard about Lisa McPherson until about 2002, and I completely heard the church's side of the whole thing. And it's actually one of the first things I looked up when I got out of Scientology was to find some more information about what really happened with her. And once I read, reading both sides of it, once I saw everything, I kind of figured this is exactly how Scientology handles things. So that was a real shame. I see people are online right now. Could somebody just, for the live chat, just write something? I just want to make sure I'm on the right page of that because I want to make sure I get to any questions that people have. I just have the last few saying that we are live, so hopefully we're still going. Our next question is Karen Pardo. And this is in reference to the tone scale, which I've talked about many times, because I actually really like the tone scale. I think the tone scale is pretty cool. So we'll talk about this a little bit. So she says, so being dead is not at the bottom of the scale. So death. Good. Yes, we are live, and we are in the live chat is working. Great, guys. Thank you so much for typing in for me to let me know. All right, so being dead is not at the bottom of the scale. So the scale is in reference to the tone scale. This is something that L. Ron Hubbard put together, or codified, I guess is the good word, back when he wrote Science of Survival. In the tone scale is basically an emotional scale, which at the time in 1952, I think is when 52, 53, 52. Let's say 51, 52 is when Science of Survival was written. I am not up on my Scientology books. It's been a while. Okay, so death was the bottom, and which was 0.0, and then 4.0, which was enthusiasm, I believe it was at the top of the scale. And this is back in 1951. That is, it since then has changed. It goes now from tone 40, which is serenity beingness, down to negative 40, which I don't remember. I'll put up a link to this tone scale so you can look at it. To answer your question, so death is not the bottom of the scale. Well, yes, death was at the bottom of the scale before L. Ron Hubbard did more and more research into the tone scale. So yes, at one point it was. But, I mean, if you look at it, it's not even really death. I think it's dying. So it's the emotional scale of, again, so this is a harmonic of a person's attitude, a harmonic of their emotional response to things. You get angry, you cry about something, you're kind of monotone about something, you're kind of complacent about something, you're enthusiastic about something, you're like blown out of your skull so happy about things. That's kind of what tone 40 is. But you can also, so it's not really that death is a tone, it's that dying. So I unfortunately have watched somebody pass before, and there definitely is an emotional scale to that. But you can go further below that as well, or at least he codified it, you can go further below that, and you can go into tones below that. I feel actually a little embarrassed again. I completely forgot about the tone scale and what the lower levels of it is. I'll put up a link on this Q&A to give you the different tones. But if you do look at people that are I don't want to say necessarily that are homeless, but you take somebody who is homeless, they're like well below apathy when it comes to life and how they're dealing with their life. They're usually because of mental problems, maybe. I'm not going to say that that's why people are homeless, but okay, we'll just take somebody who's depressed. You take somebody who's depressed and they're lethargic and they're unable to do anything, and when they do talk, it's very negative and they're very against themselves and very upset. And you look at that, you look at that on the tone scale, and you can see a little bit about what's why, but going below dying or going below 0.0, why there's an ability to go below that. Again, I'll put a link into this particular Q&A, and then you can see it for yourself. All right. To Anon8109, have you ever read any Steve Hessen's work? Okay, this question's actually been on my comments for a long time. Okay, when I was a Scientologist, Steve Hessen, and if I remember correctly, he was part of the cult awareness group. He was one of the deprogrammers, or worked with the deprogrammers. Okay, what are deprogrammers? Deprogrammers were people back in the 70s and 80s and early 90s that would pull people out, that would be hired by families and pull people out of cults and deprogram them. Steve Hessen was one of the, along with Ted, whose name I forgot this last name, he was one of the number one bullseye between his eyes enemies of Scientology as an individual. Cult Awareness Network was probably one of the, amongst other than psychiatry, Cult Awareness Network was the most evil organization that was against Scientology in the entire world, and everyone that worked with them was basically a suppressive person, deviant, sexual deviant, a scumbag. They wrote up all these horrible things about these people. And to be honest with you, I stayed away from reading anything from Steve Hessen because it's kind of still stuck in my head that he was the number one enemy of Scientology. So, again, stuck in my head that this is not the guy to listen to. And I finally saw an interview, and don't know, someone keep me honest on this, but I think it was last season, the first season of Leah Remedy's Scientology in the Aftermath, that they actually interviewed Steve Hassan. I think. Again, someone keep me honest on this. If not, I've definitely seen an interview with him. And he is the nicest person. Like, in comparison to what was like drilled into my head, when I heard him speak, he was calm. He was, you want to use Scientology, he was uptone. He was intelligent. I was really, really, really shocked at how actually quite enlightening this human being was. And have I read any of Steve Hassan's works? I've seen a couple of interviews with him. Finally, after all these years, I watched a couple of interviews with him. I'm quite surprised at how articulate the man is and his knowledge of Scientology. His involvement with the Cult Awareness Network, after I read a little bit more about what these guys were doing, don't exactly agree with their tactics, but I understand why parents hired them, because they wanted to get their kids out of these kind of dangerous cults. We also have to look back in the late 60s, early 70s, and into the 70s, and then into the 80s, there were a lot of cults. I mean, just do your own research on the history, and there were some pretty dangerous ones as well. And I would never really put Scientology in as a dangerous cult. Misguided immensely, but I would not really put them in as a dangerous cult. There were some other ones that were pretty bad. Obviously, one of the grand leaders just passed away the other day, or a week ago. Thank God. But I've been interested to read a little bit more. Jeffrey Augustine. I did listen to an interview with Jeffrey Augustine. That's where I heard, and I've also seen a couple taped interviews with him. And someone actually, Dana just wrote in saying he himself was deprogrammed from the Moonies and learned from his experiences and no longer believes in that method. You should read some of his books. They're excellent. Okay, I will, Dana. I will take a look at it. And thank you for mentioning that. Okay, so the last question, which I've actually kept here on my comments list for a little bit, is this next question by Mr. Budzini. I like that handle for your YouTube handle. What is the most absurd situation or statement you have heard while you were in Scientology? Most absurd. Okay, the most absurd statement was the event that was done by some people from Los Angeles. Every once in a while, we would have people come from the West Coast and do events in Buffalo. The Advanced Organization of St. Hill. This is the organization that delivers training to become a St. Hill Special Breathing Course Auditor, which is the second highest level a non-Sea Org member can train to. It's the most prolific of all the trainings. You read all the red volumes. It's a very extensive study course you have to go through. You get a total chronological understanding of the development of Dianetics and Scientology and the methodologies of auditing, blah, 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 blah. It's a very intense internship and intense service. All right, so we had some guys that came to do a tour from what's referred to as ASHO, Advanced Organization of St. Hill. No, American Organization St. Hill. Sorry. Because then there's the AOLA, which is the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles. So the American Organization of St. Hill was doing an event at my org, and I was chit-chatting with the two guys, and they did this briefing for me, and they had literally written a line down the middle of the whiteboard and said, "This is us, and this is them." So as a Scientologist, you're either on this side or you're on the WOG side, or watch other videos and we can define what WOG is. But basically the regular world. And I looked at the guys and I said that is not going to be said in my org. That is not going to be brought up during this event. You're going to make more enemies out of Scientologists than you're going to want to. That is not going to go over very well. And boy, did I get my ass reamed for saying that. I just like, you can't, as a religion, decide that, you know, you're either a Scientologist and you're doing everything Scientology, or you're an enemy of the church and you're now just in the regular world. You can't, like, you know, we need to all work together. This is not how it works. I mean, no church works like that. Catholics aren't like, either you're Catholic or you're shit, or you're Muslim or you're shit, or you're Jewish or you're shit. I mean, it's like, this is pretty absurd to hear someone say something like that. I think in one of my recent videos I brought this situation up where I saw, you know, just to answer the, you know, the other part of this, answering this question, because you know, we could say it's two questions. What is the most absurd situation or most situation or statement you've heard while you were in Scientology? So that's kind of my most absurd statement. You are either with us or against us. I think George Bush said that during 2003, 2002, right after 9/11, his State of the Nation. You are either with us or against us. You know, that's not how the world works. We all have to be together and work together on this planet. Okay, absurd situation. Again, I brought this up before, but I'll say it again because it really, this scarred. I mean, this is probably one of the biggest things that ever scarred me was watching two of my senior executives from the Continental Liaison Office in New York. Continental Liaison Office basically is every continent. Scientology is split into 6 continents. The 6 continents we have. And each continent has an office. And obviously I was in the Eastern United States, so the East CLO, or Continental Liaison Office, East US was the office where my managers were. Well, at one point, we're sitting up in the old executive area in the new building. One of the RTC reps was there. Angie Blankenship was her name. I don't know what her new name is now. I think she's been married since this happened. She basically completely right in front of myself and several other Class 5 staff members or regular church staff members, and in front of other Sea Org members, completely ripped these guys new assholes. And what was the worst part about this is my exec office didn't have any walls except for the back wall. The building we had was, and I'm getting off the subject a little bit, but the building that we got was very unique because it had floors, but each floor had a mezzanine to it. So that's how we got split up into five floors. We had a first floor and a mezzanine, second floor mezzanine, third floor mezzanine. That makes 6 floors, doesn't it? And then we had a basement. Did I get that right? Yeah, basically that's how it was. So we had like a six story building. So the exec area overlooked the top floor, so we're basically wide open. You can hear anything that's being said. Rips these 2 guys a new asshole, and then right in front of all of us, with no justice action whatsoever, rips the 2 of them down to become staff members in my org. And puts both of them on kind of demeaning posts, and does this right in front of us. And it was my mind was blown away. I was actually the only executive that knew who these guys were, that actually had a relationship, because I was no longer the executive director at the time, or maybe I was. No, I wasn't. But the other 3 guys that were brand new staff members had not been involved with management before. So I mean, these guys I looked up to. I had a very good relationship with them. You know, outside of the CLO, I actually was on a first name basis with them. So it was difficult to see this happen. It was quite shocking to see that happen. So those are my 2. You know, I've split your 1 question, Mr. Bazzini, into 2 questions. So that is all I have with regards to questions that I have prepared. Let's see if anyone has any questions that would like to be asked. We're about 30 minutes into the video. We can do about another 5-10 minutes. And let's see what we have. Okay. Dana, who had mentioned Steve Hassan. What was the longest period of time you went without sleep? And how much were you typically paid as a staff member? Okay. I did a couple 36 hours, so like basically day and a half, a couple of times. I was a Class 5 staff member. I was not a SEARG member. So it really was never required for me to stay up all night to work on crazy projects that David Miscavige had written up. The biggest problem, and I think you're kind of getting to what kind of sleep deprivation did I go through. The biggest problem is when we moved into a temporary building while our old building was being demolished by the city and while our new building was being renovated. We kind of got a temporary space right in the middle of everything. When we were in that space, we were also, I was a full time, meaning that I got in at 8:45 in the morning and I went home around 10:30, 11 o'clock every night. Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday was from 9 to 6. But then we got asked to come in and do renos, meaning that the staff would come in for an hour and a half to 2 hours a night and do renos. So we were getting done at 10, leaving at 12, basically. I averaged for about 6 months about 4.5 to 5 hours of sleep a night. I got pretty. That was pretty bad. But no, I never really did a lot of overnight things. I had to night watch a few times. Night watch was basically night security. The staff would have to get split up. Only men could do it, and we had to basically stay at the door all night long, and then be on post the next day, which was the stupidest fucking thing I ever had to do as a staff member. Maybe that'll be the next question: is what is the stupidest thing you ever had to do as a staff member? And what was my typical pay as a staff member? It ranged anywhere from $3, I think, was the lowest, to the highest pay without a Christmas bonus was about, we had that one really good week. $1,400, I think, was the highest without a bonus, the highest pay I ever had. That was a really good week. I think it was the highest. I don't know if it ever stayed the highest GI, gross income week, that was regged by one individual, but I don't know. So, all right. So, any other questions? Dana, you have a lot of questions. So you were not in the Sea Org, which is why I was curious. Thank you for answering the question. You're very welcome. Yes, I was a Class 5 staff member in Buffalo, New York. There's 167 organizations throughout the world. And I still think there are still more Sea Org members than are staff members, which is kind of strange because there's not as many Sea Org bases as there are orgs. Kind of strange. All right, Jenny Lidhold. I'm hoping I'm saying your last name correctly. I always heard about Sea Org members working long hours. I've heard very little about what they are actually doing. Stuffing envelopes, making calls, cleaning. You know what? I could answer this question because I've worked on Sea Org bases before, because I was at FLAG, the Flag Liaison Office, the FLAG Land Base, which is down in Tampa over Clearwater, Florida. And I also actually worked a little bit in the CLO, or was around the CLO a lot in New York. And they're over on 48th between 8th and 9th. Any New Yorkers. They're on the north side of the street. They work. And just like we did. I mean, they work. They work long hours. And it really depends on what you're doing. I mean, let's look at it from the management point of view, from the Continental Liaison Office. There was 14 churches. Let's see. I think 14 churches in the eastern United States. Do you want me to name them off? Let's see if I can name them off. There's Boston, Buffalo, New York, Day and Foundation, so that's 2 organizations. There's Long Island. There's now Harlem Org. Going on the coast. There's DC. There is Atlanta. There's Tampa, which is kind of run by Flag. It was always been run by, kind of almost run by Flag. There's Miami, Orlando, Tennessee was a celebrity center, so that doesn't count. Detroit, Chicago, Cincinnati, Philadelphia. Yeah, I think that's all the orgs in the East U.S. I don't know why I'm doing that. So yeah, I never really, so yeah, the Continental Liaison Office is running all those different organizations. So they're busy doing all the, they get kind of, their jobs get kind of split up to mirror the organization board, which I'm not going to get into fully, which would actually be kind of a neat video to do. But their positions mirror the organization board of the churches. And then the other part of the management office does the betterment groups. ABLE, WISE, Missions, IAS, they're all kind of running those. So there's obviously lots of things to do with that. The service organizations obviously are servicing people. People need to be on course, people need to be registered, people need to have letters written to them. So yeah, they stay pretty busy doing their jobs. Should be getting 2.5 hours of study every day and moving up the bridge. Most don't, from what I remember. But some do. Did have, definitely did happen. And it's kind of the same way with the class 5 staff members. There's always things to work on. Okay, so let's see. Another question from Dena. I have heard quite a few young public being urged to become Sea Org members. Did they do the same thing with you? Let's see. Yes. Actually, I don't think they're hiring younger kids, but I've seen a couple kids in their, 14, 15 being recruited for the Sea Org. I was actually not qualified to join the Sea Org. I had taken LSD back in the 90s, and I haven't done it since. But that is a misqualification for being in the Sea Org. After working through the Golden Age Tech evolution, which you can see the video I did with Aaron Smith-Levin about that, I spent the last 2 months there getting everyone through their 2 months, month and a half. Yeah, 2 months, month and a half. I spent a lot of time getting the last 2 months getting people through the program so that we can make our target of completing by May 9th. 1996. I worked very closely with the Sea Org. I got multiple compliments about my work ethic and told that, asked if I wanted, when I was done with my contract, if I wanted to join the Sea Org. When I told them I was misqualified, they said, "Bummer, you would have been awesome." But no, never got registered to become a Sea Org member. Okay, any other questions that anyone else has, please go ahead and ask. And I do ask also if anyone who does watch this after this goes live, please ask questions. I actually really enjoy doing these Q&As, but I'm running out of questions. So I'm working on getting more and more people to watch these videos, but I do encourage you to please write down any questions in the suggestion area. You can also email questions to me at myclarityafterscientology@gmail.com. You can also tweet me at myclarity on Twitter, and watch more videos. Okay, I think that is all there is. Usually another one comes in right after I end, so I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. Just an update. I was supposed to do an interview last Wednesday, but the gentleman I was doing an interview with was actually ended up having to drive home because it was Thanksgiving weekend last weekend. He was up in Buffalo, and he was driving back home to Atlanta on the day that we were supposed to do the video. The schedule just got conflicted. So we'll see about doing a video with him. And I am also going to, now that I've done the video with Aaron Smith-Levin on his channel about what happened with Ellie Perkins, which was my mother-in-law. You can look up pretty much just look up that name, Ellie Perkins. You can Google that and see what happened with her. You can also watch, I'd suggest just watching the video so you get kind of more of an insight of what was going on. I'm going to do, because I did why I got into Scientology and why I left. And I kind of left it very vague at the end why I left. So I'm going to do a more intense video on that, exactly chronologically what happened. I've done a little bit more thinking about the steps of time periods of when everything happened, so we can get a little better accurate understanding of what happened. So we will do a video on that. That will just be a video. I'm not going to do a live video on that. Although that might be interesting to do that, because that'll be at night. Let me think about that. Maybe I'll do that as a live video as well. Keep the live chat off for a little bit off to the side, because I usually keep the live chat right in front of me so I can see when people are writing in. And then I can take up questions after that about that particular situation. Okay, so no more questions are coming in. I hope everyone enjoys... oh, what? One more. Always happens. Awesome. All right, Caroline Stacy. How can a person be on an OT level for years? You are referring to OT7. I had one public that actually was on OT7 for 11 years. My answer is I have no clue. I never got to that point of the bridge. I know these guys are supposed to be auditing 3 to 5 sessions a day. When you get on to OT 1, 2, and 3, OT 7 are all done what's called solo auditing, where you actually are holding the cans yourself, and you're basically running the e-meter, and you're thinking. You don't actually talk out loud. You think the thought, and you watch the reaction on the needle. I've actually done it before. You can. Anyone who's got an e-meter and what's called a solo spacer, which puts the 2 cans together, you can actually audit. You can ask yourself questions and see how it works. I mean, the whole idea of an e-meter is that it works on thought. So they're supposed to. So when they do these solo sessions, they're only going in for 5 to 20 minutes at like a 20-minute session from one of my ex-staff members, or one of my staff members when I was the executive director. He was on OT7, and he would go in for 3 or 4 sessions a day. And he would literally, he told me 20 minutes, he would have to take a nap after 20 minutes. It's such an exhausting session. So blowing body thetans for 20 minutes, I guess, can really put someone need a nap. He just wanted to take a nap, I think. But so why would it take that long? I really have no idea. Sorry, I really can't answer that question other than to just say they had a lot of body thetans to take care of, I guess. Or maybe they were auditing the wrong body thetans. I don't know. Good question, though. Dana, you had asked a question. You mentioned the tone scale being helpful. Could you give a particular example of how to use it? Okay, well, the general idea of the tone scale is that it is an emotional scale based on numbers. Perfect example is antagonism. It's 2.0. It's antagonism. Someone's being antagonistic. The idea with using the tone scale, I'm going to get a little bit more into this, but the idea of using the tone scale is that if you're dealing with someone who's being antagonistic to you, you want to be a tone scale, half a tone scale to a tone scale above them. Boredom is 2.5, and 3.0, I don't remember what that is off the top of my head. It starts with a C. It's complacent. It's not complacent, but it's like being complacent. So you're dealing with someone who's antagonistic, and you get bored. Well, I live in a very antagonistic city. I live in Manhattan. I've gotten people who have gotten very upset with me and started being antagonistic with me, and I just get really bored of them. I'm just like, all right, man, whatever. And it does work. Not all the time, but it does work, because just it's an emotional harmonic. So, you know, you're dealing with the harmony between 2 people. Other times you want to, you know, you want to deal somebody who's really excited about something that happens, and you give them a very bored or kind of complacent response to them. That can bring them down as well. I mean, it kind of works both ways. There's a little bit more to the tone scale too that in Science Survival of Chart of Human Evaluation was written, where L. Ron Hubbard said he took his research from his auditing, and he put together these, you know, multiple columns of categories with people and how they react in particular situations in life. This would be best doing an actual video on it so I can actually show you it. But it does rate how people react to particular situations in life, like raising children, wanting, you know, their body odor or their hygiene. You know, there's different ways that different ranges within the tone scale people would react to particular situations in life. That has been that's been kind of useful too. I mean, I deal with people all the time and with the work I do. So having, you know, one little tool, whether it's 100% accurate or not, having that other little tool to work with in dealing with people helps, especially living in a very aggressive city. Daniel just joined us. Hello from Pennsylvania. Hello, Pennsylvania. How are things in Pennsylvania today? It's getting chilly out, isn't it? Okay, I'll give it one more minute. So like I said, hopefully this week live in an apartment in New York City. There's not a lot of space, so it's very difficult to do a video when my wife is home. She knows I'm not going to do them behind her back. She knows it, but you know, she's got to move around. She's got to do things. So to keep the noise down, I actually do this when she's not home. So she will be possibly working late on Monday, so maybe we'll do it on Monday. So we'll see. All right, any other questions? A couple more seconds. There's always that one more. There's always one more. All right, good. Enjoy your Saturday, enjoy your Sunday, and we will be seeing each other very shortly. Thank you.